Ooh, it's a time for the package from China. Hey ladies and gentlemen, it's awesome that you're tuning in, because we are going to take a close look at something pretty cool. This is what we're going to call the next generation or retro emulation consoles from our friends from China. Yeah, I know, for the people familiar to my channel, I say it a lot. And this time it's not a joke, seriously, it's not a clickbait whatever. This is an emulation beast and the next generation of Chinese, let's say, emulation devices. Because with the Chinese now in 2021, it's going to be a very interesting year and they are stepping up their game, and this is one of these great examples. So they are using a PC and the specs and all the other things we're going to talk about later in this video, but what you can do with this is playing a lot of retro games that we can play with more like these cheap boxes I've reviewed in the last month. Also, this time we're not going to get a chemical smelly controller. This is, we're not saying a PlayStation 4 ripoff, but it's getting very close. Especially when I'm holding it, I can feel it. The controller, the fake one that you're going to get with the Super Console X system, it is made for a PlayStation 3. So it's basically not like in the era that they were making PlayStation 4 clones. So therefore it's completely different and doesn't have a lot of similarities. There are a lot of stuff, of course, they don't need. But what I do like about it is that we're having a normal D-pad. We're having more like two joysticks like a Nintendo Switch. And the touch itself, let's try that out, because I can tell you this thing plays very well. It comes in this nice box, and I am just going to be honest with you, I have no idea what kind of brand it is, because there is nothing I can read. So if somebody knows here in the Wicked family what the box says, yeah, drop it in the comments. Okay, so when you're going to put them side by side, you can see the PlayStation 4 mold is completely different in some way, especially when it comes to the back triggers. And to be honest, I like it. They're just going to give you, let's say, normal buttons for all the shoulder buttons and not like the triggers. Maybe for racing games. But nevertheless, when you're looking at this, the feel of it, it's just so comfortable. And it's such a big bummer that they didn't give me two of these controllers, especially when you're paying a lot of money for the Super Console X. Everything you need, like even including turbo buttons for the shoot-em-ups, everything that you're going to need is on this controller. Indication LED for play 1 or 2 and a very long USB cable. This is just USB 2.0 because basically this thing is made for a PlayStation 3 back in the day. But let's talk about the PC, because that is what it is. They're going to do the same exactly thing like with the Super Console X. The Super Console X is based on the Android and this is based on Windows PC. But this is not your typical PC, not this gigantic big machine. This is a very ultra compact PC with a very nice metal housing. I did notice on AliExpress there are a couple of manufacturers selling this same casing with different specifications. We're going to do an ETA Prime moment later on this video, so we're going to talk about that. What are the specifications? Inside the box, what are we going to get? Not a lot. So what we're going to get is basically a system, an HDMI cable, and power supply, and a bracket for mounting it on a monitor. So the cable is just basic HDMI cable. We're going to get a power supply. This is a 19 volt power supply from a famous brand like Lid On. And I'm familiar personally with it because I have them for my very old Acer Power 2000 PCs. So they are making power supplies for a very long time. Not to forget, let's take a close look at the bracket. A very nice quality metal bracket, so if you want to put this thing behind a monitor, that is possible. And last but not least, we're going to get, yeah guys, a little bit disappointing for the people who love them, no toilet paper manual. We're actually going to get a very nice different language manual that we're going to need if you have some problems with it, like having a boot configuration not correctly set up, like mine. Yep, so you need to have the manual so to get into BIOS, knowing which keys you need to use. But I can say that I'm very positive about the casing itself. It's fully made of metal. It's getting very hot after some time. I'm using it for a couple of hours, so I'm very pleased. Finally, they're going to give us a device that has very good cooling. But let's talk about the weight, because this thing also weighs quite heavy. So when you're looking at the Super Console X Android edition, this thing only weighs 107 grams. So this thing is light as a feather. And that is what I noticed with the Super Console X. Also the Pro is the same story. But when you take a close look at this bad boy, the Super Console X PC, it's more than 1 kilogram. So I can say this thing is like a freaking brick. So at the front of the device we're going to get 2 USB 3.0 ports, a micro USB, the on and off switch, a power LED and of course an audio jack out. But let's take a close look at back because we're going to get a lot of USB ports. Again, 2 ports for 3.0 USB, 2 ports USB 2.0, and display port, HDMI out and Ethernet connection input for power supply. But also we're going to get 2 tiny Wi-Fi antennas for of course the Wi-Fi capabilities. And the reason why we're having 2 antennas because this is an Intel dual board wireless AC 3155 that is using in combination with the antennas. Alright, so here we're having the first module is in DDR4 running on 2666 MHz, in total 8 GB, but the other one is on the other side. Nevertheless, we're having here the NVMe slot that is not in use, as you can see over here. So the CPU is cooled by this gigantic cooler, and I can say it gets it quite hot, but keeps the CPU quite cool, and not to forget it's super silent. But disassembly of this case is super easy and everybody can do it, simply because we need to remove 4 screws for each panel. If you remove them, you can just lift it open. I need to point out with the second panel, the hard drive is basically screwed on the second panel. You need to be very gently when you're removing it, because there is a special connector that goes straight into the main board, and if you wiggle it around and you didn't do it right, you'll basically ruin it. Here we have the KingHanks. This is just only NVMe is inside this machine. That is for the Windows 10 because yep, it's installed. Okay, here we're having the second module, the second DDR4 4GB module that makes in total 8GB. We're having the extra pins, which you can see over here. This pin has been connected with the hard drive that is screwed on the second panel. This is basically in 2 TB that contains all the files and basically all the files that we're going to get and need for having this emulation machine. But they're using a SATA to this special connector for connecting it to the mainboard. But nevertheless, this is a Western Digital 2 TB hard disk, and I'm hoping in the future, if SSDs will become affordable, maybe it's a fun and great idea to upgrade it to an SSD. So for the CPU, it's kind of surprising, we're going to get an Intel Xeon A3 1505M that is running on 2.80 GHz. RAM in total we're having 8GB DDR4 that is divided over 2 modules of 4GB. The GPU is an Intel HD 530. Storage we're having 2 of them. The first one is a KingHanks 128GB. This is for Windows 10 and we're having a 2 TB Western Digital hard disk inside that is running the Batocera Linux edition for the emulation station. Okay, so let's take a close look at the part I'm guessing you are all been waiting for. So this is the part of the emulation station. What are we going to get compared with, let's say, in Super Console X or other devices I've reviewed here on the channel? So first of all, I really like more like the Hyperspin look design of this menu. But of course we can change it out if you want to. But the compatibility, I think that's where the Super Console X Pro, or better said, the other versions are lacking of. We're having a lot of old stuff that will run fine on an Android box. That will not be a problem. So if you're liking the old stuff, I think a Super Console X is more than enough for you. But if you want to basically play more than only, let's say, up to PlayStation 1, therefore we're going to review this monster machine. This machine can run up to Wii U if possible. I'm just going to do a quick point out, and this is more like a spoiler for you guys. PlayStation 2, it's still a little bit buggy, but when you're looking at the Wii and the Wii U stuff, it's more like a hit or miss. Because that is more like compatibility with the emulator, and not to forget the power of the system. Because this is an older Xeon CPU inside. And if you're looking at this maybe with an i7 or maybe an i9, they will going to get even better performance with the high-end stuff. But it's safe to say that it will run up to GameCube and PlayStation 2 or most of the games pretty good, and I will show you a couple of games. Take a consideration is that with this video I'm only going to highlight some games because it's not possible to basically check everything out. I have a second channel where I will do more extended testing and other stuff like tutorials. Consider subscribing to that channel if you want to see more. Nevertheless, let's get into the games, enough chit chatting, and let's test them out. Let's see what are the performance of this Console X PC Supreme Edition. We're going to start off with Mame, but these are the games that are not running on the Super Console Lakes Pro or most of the time a Raspberry Pi number 4. So with PlayStation Portable, I did notice some hiccups in the game. I think it's a little bit of a bummer, but this is more like an emulator issue than it's more like a performance. But in the end, this is the best performance I have seen for a while when it comes to these systems. So PlayStation 2, when looking at the FPS, it's quite good. But you can see already more like this has some rendering issues, and I did see it before. And I'm guessing this is not because we're playing this on Bota Sera, but I think it's more like a problem with the emulator itself. And hoping in the future stuff like this and glitches will be fixed. A little bit of a bummer in my opinion. But again, it's going to get the N64 story all over and it's going to be a mixed bag all the freaking time. I did notice a hiccup from the beginning, but when you're looking at the overall performance, it is running on a stable FPS, and I'm very pleased to see that we're having a system finally that can run GameCube pretty good. Or better said, very good. Okay, so this game I have tested it on many systems before, like the Pi 4 and the Console X, and had a lot of issues. But with the Super Console X PC edition, finally we can play without any lag, or any weird glitches or other problems. Oh boy, there are so many ways to play when it comes to these retro games and these emulation machines. So when you're especially looking at the Super Console X family, there are quite some differences. So let's talk about what may be the best choice for you. Okay, so to begin with, we're having the Super Console X. It's a fine system, it's not really powerful. The Pro, in my opinion, in short, was just a disappointment and was not really an upgrade, especially when it comes to the RAM function. Yeah, the Super Console X stick, it's the same story like the Pro, but a different form factor. I like it, how easy it was where I plug it in, something like in television. The Super Console X PC edition, the Supreme one. But how supreme is it? When you're looking at the games, a lot of issues with N64 or other systems that we couldn't even play on the Super Console X Android cheap models. We can play them on this machine, and that's where we're going to get the biggest difference. Okay, so let's talk about the positive thing about the Super Console X PC Supreme. This device itself comes with a very nice non-chemical controller this time. So for the people who want to have a smelly test, a little bit disappointed because it is not needed. Quality metal casing, good cooling, works plug and play, enough power to run most games up to PlayStation 2, and you can basically use this thing like in PC if you want to, and MAME also runs pretty good. Okay, so the downside to this machine. Okay, so when it comes to this device, and we're just going to need some more power if you want to emulate PlayStation 3 and Wii U. Only one controller in this kit. We have some minor problems with the menu, nothing big, but still want to point it out. Yeah, and the price is a lot of money for what you're going to get. Okay guys, so that was the full review. If you want to see more information, consider subscribing to my second channel where we're going to do more tutorials and other stuff you're going to need to know about this product. Thank you for watching, consider subscribing to the channels, and I will see you in the next video.